Her time went away on the bottom of the screen here, so I don't know. That's why I was looking. Okay. Welcome to the meeting, December 21st, 2020, of the Mayfield Community Improvement Corporation. This meeting is being held in accordance with Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22, specific to the recent amendments made in the light of the current COVID-19 declared emergency, House Bill 197, amended by House Bill 404. Under the orders of Governor DeWine and the Director of Health of Ohio, the Commission will be meeting remotely via electronic means. The public is invited to view the meeting live and can access the meeting through the link as posted on Mayfield Village website, www.mayfieldvillage.com. This meeting has been properly noticed to the news meeting. These proceedings will be conducted in compliance with all applicable state laws and regulations. Mrs. Betza, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurasek?
Here.
Mr. Marquardt?
Here.
Mr. Myers?
Here.
Mrs. Mills?
Here.
Mr. Murphy?
Here.
Mr. Williams?
Here.
Mr. Schott?
Here.
At this time, I need an approval of the minutes of November 16th, 2020. May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve minutes. Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, roll call, Mrs. Betza.
Mrs. Jurasek?
Yes.
Mr. Marquardt?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mrs. Mills?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Schott?
Yes.
There is a motion needed to recommend authorization of the payment to 20 additional Mayfield Village business applicants for Small Business Relief Fund grants in the amount of $2,500 per applicant for a total of $50,000. May I have a motion for this, please?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Roll call, Ms. Betza?
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Markwart,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills.
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
yes,
Mr. Scheib.
Yes.
At this time, there is a need for the nomination of officers for the 2021. And I have a slate of officers here. Patsy Mills, President, Al Myers, Vice President, George Williams, Secretary, Steve Shutt, Treasurer. I'll open the floor for any other nominations. If there are no further nominations, I declare the nominations for president are closed. Wait, okay. Are we? Okay. We need to do that, okay. We have to open the floor for vice president, nominations for vice president. No, for president? Okay. Wait a minute. All right, you want a nomination for president?
You need a nomination.
Okay, I need a nomination for president.
I nominate Patsy Mills.
I second,
Are there any other nominations? The nominations for president are closed. Next nomination we need is for vice president. Are there any nominations?
Yeah, I nominate Al Myers.
Second.
Are there any further nominations? The nominations are closed. Next, I need a nomination for secretary. Mr. Williams was secretary last year, this year.
Yeah, I nominate George Williams.
Second.
Second.
Are there any further nominations? The nominations are closed. Next, I need a nomination for the treasurer. Mr. Shutt was the treasurer this year. Is there a nomination?
Nomination for Steve Shutt.
Okay.
Second.
Any further nominations? Nominations are closed. The slate of officers will be Patsy Mills, President, Al Myers, Vice President, George Williams, Secretary, Stephen Shutt, Treasurer. I ask for the nominations to close. May I have a motion for that, please?
Motion to close the nominations.
second,
Second.
Okay. Roll call, Mrs. Betza.
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Markwart,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
yes,
Mr. Scheib.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the positions for the year of 2021. May I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve all of those elected or those nominated.
I second.
Roll call, Ms. Betza.
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Markwart,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
yes,
Mr. Scheib.
Yeah.
Are there any further matters that we should attend to? If not, I would like to have a motion to adjourn the meeting, please.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. Roll call, Ms. Betza.
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Markwart,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
yes.
Mr. Scheib.
Yes.
This meeting has been adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
7:05. Okay.
Thank you, Councilwoman Mills. Good evening. It is 7:07 PM. Welcome to the regular meeting of council for Mayfield Village. Today is Monday, December 21st, 2020. This meeting has been duly noticed. It is being held in accordance with Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22, specific to recent amendments made in light of the current COVID-19 declared emergency, House Bill 197, amended by House Bill 404. Under the orders of Governor DeWine and the Director of Health of Ohio, and pursuant to Ordinance 2020-08, adopted March 16th, 2020, Council is meeting remotely via electronic means. Notice of this meeting was sent to the news media on December 18th, 2020. The public was invited to view the meeting live by accessing the meeting through a link posted on the website. The public was also encouraged to view the meeting agenda and offer any comments or questions prior to 6 PM this evening to be read into the record and addressed at the meeting. Comments received in writing or electronically that were not received on time will be read into the record and addressed at the next meeting of council. Mayfield Village is conducting these proceedings in compliance with all applicable state laws and regulations. Mrs. Betza, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
Here.
Mr. Marquardt,
Here.
Mr. Myers,
Here.
Mrs. Mills,
Here.
Murphy.
Here.
Mr. Williams.
Here.
Mr. Shutt,
Here.
Mayor Bodnar,
Here.
Mr. Wynn,
Here.
Ms. Weber,
Here.
Mr. Marquardt,
Here.
Chief Mathias.
Here.
All other department heads are viewing this meeting virtually.
Thank you, Mrs. Betza. Please remain seated as I recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have a consideration of minutes of the regular council meeting from November 16th, 2020?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Betza, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Marquardt,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
yes,
Mr. Shutt.
Yes. Next, we have comments from Mayor Bodnar.
Thank you, Council President. I'd just like to begin by wishing a very Merry Christmas to everybody that celebrates Christmas, and to everyone in the village a very Happy New Year. We've got a lot of good things to look forward to in 2021. We have a COVID vaccine that should be available for distribution very soon. It's already been distributed to some healthcare workers. Should be available to all of us shortly, and I would encourage anybody when your time comes that you can have the vaccine to take advantage of that. On 2021, we'll also be celebrating our centennial, and that's something to look forward to. And we're also looking forward to a time when we can gather safely with our family and friends to celebrate our holidays and special occasions. So there's a lot of hope and a lot of good things coming next year. Just like to touch on the vaccine again. It's a wonderful thing. But as I recall, about a week and a half ago in one of Mike DeWine's press conferences, we were cautioned that although now we have this wonderful offense, this COVID vaccine, we have to keep up our defense, our distancing, our sanitizing, and our mask wearing. In other words, we need both an offense and a defense in order to win our game against COVID. I just want to touch on the subject of Christmas a little bit more. Some of you might have noticed a new nativity set that's up on Wilson Mills Road, basically kind of in front of where the gazebo is. That's new, so I just want to give you a little explanation of why it's there and how it got there. For many years, Mayfield villagers enjoyed a very beautiful nativity set that was at Muska Plaza, which was at the corner of Wilson Mills and Somme. It was not our nativity set, it was not on our property, but everybody enjoyed it. So this year we began to get lots of calls and emails asking, where is that nativity set? Why is it not there? So I talked to Doug Metzen, our service director, and he got sort of hot on the trail to try to figure out what happened with that nativity set. He made several phone calls. The people he talked to made several phone calls. And by last Friday, we'd finally gotten to the bottom of it. We found out that the nativity set had belonged to a person who was now deceased, and that his family had donated it to a church which was using it. So there was no more nativity set at that corner. We then on Friday did a massive search throughout the greater Cleveland area to find out where we could get one. We found one retailer who had 2 nativity sets. And Doug went out and got one right away. We bought the bigger of the 2. So if you're driven by the nativity set and thought it looked kind of small, that was the biggest one we could get our hands on. So the service department did a great job of putting it out. So now we have both the menorah, which we've had for many, many years, and we have the nativity set. So I want to thank Doug for that. In case anybody's wondering whether it's constitutional to put a nativity set or even a menorah on village property, the Supreme Court decided that question many years ago, and they said, yes, it was under certain circumstances. So that is the story of why there is a nativity set in front of the gazebo, and also, unfortunately, why there's not a nativity set at Muska Plaza this year. Another holiday thing I wanted to bring up, and that is to give a shout out to our rec director, Shane McAvenue, along with Sean and Danielle in our rec department. With the assistance of our service department and the Mayfield Village Police Department. We had a great morning last Thursday, passing out hams and turkey breasts to our senior citizens. It was cold, but it was a beautiful morning. MVPD kept traffic running great. We had loud, festive music playing, and everybody had a good time. And so thank you to Shane and company and all who were involved for making spirits a little bit brighter in Mayfield Village. And just to end on a positive note, we have been notified by NOACA that we have been selected to receive an electric vehicle charging station for our Civic Center parking lot. We don't have all of the details on that, but Ms. Wolgamuth will be attending a workshop in January for more details on that program. So that's everything I have for tonight. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Mayor Budner. The organizational meeting of council will be held on Monday, January 4th, with caucus immediately following. The regular meeting of council will be held on Tuesday, January 19th. Pursuant to House Bill 404, extending virtual meetings to July 1st, 2021, these meetings will be held via Zoom. Council has received a copy of the draft calendar and council committee assignments for 2021. Please let myself or Mary Beth know by next week if you have any questions or concerns. Final approval of the calendar and council assignments will be on January's organizational meeting agenda. In addition, Tom Capello and Mike Cicero will be sworn in during the organizational meeting. Mayor Budner will also administer the oath of office to 5 individuals whose terms have expired for their respective committees. As Mayor Budner mentioned, I'd like to echo the happy holidays to everyone and Happy New Year. Although we have the vaccine here, we still want to make sure that we're practicing social distancing and doing all we can to help this curve slow this down, the coronavirus slow that down a little bit. So again, happy holidays to all. Moving along, we have the open portion of our meeting. Mary Beth.
I did not have any comments, Council President, to read into the record.
Thank you, Mrs. Metza. Then we'll move along to the department head reports. First up is Finance Department, Mr. Nguyen.
I'll save my comments this evening to items as they appear on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Nguyen. Next up is the Law Department, Ms. Weber.
We do not have an updated report this evening, but are here for comments as items come up on the agenda.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Ms. Weber. Next up is Chief Matthias for the Police Department.
Thank you, Council President. It's been several months since I had the opportunity to address council, so if you'll indulge me for a few moments, I just want to give a little update on the police department. I'm happy to announce that the Mayfield Village Police Department is now certified by the Ohio Collaborative. The Ohio Collaborative is a 12-person panel of law enforcement experts and community leaders from throughout the state of Ohio. The collaborative was formed in 2015 to establish policy standards that can help guide law enforcement agencies in Ohio. There's 4 groups associated with the collaborative certification. Each required compliance with a specific list of policies. Chief Edelman began the process by receiving certification in the first 2 groups, and just effective a few weeks ago, we're now certified in all 4 groups. This required implementing new policies, including bias-free policing, investigation of employee misconduct, and the updating of policies, including the use of force, where we now ban chokeholds and require officers to intervene if they observe a violation of the policy. I do want to thank Mr. Jim Budzik from the Law Director's Office. He gave me quite a bit of help with the policy formulation. It was a lot of work. In addition to the collaborative, we've been taking advantage of all available virtual training. Classroom and in-person training was canceled for most of 2020, but our officers did virtually complete training on topics such as use of force, de-escalation, ethics, and again, duty to intervene. And in 2021, the Attorney General has not required any continuing education, but we will continue to seek out all training opportunities that are useful and relevant. So we're going to work hard on that in 2021. Also, 2020 has been a very long and challenging year for all of us, but our officers have been out there performing their jobs with pride and professionalism. During 2020, officers administered Narcan twice, and with the help of Mayfield Village Fire Department, saved the lives of 2 people who had overdosed on drugs. In June, if you remember, we had a rash of vandalism on some of the streets and in the tunnels. And in October, we had a couple of vehicle break-ins. In both incidents, the suspects were caught and arrested by our patrol division. So I was real proud of that. And again, it's been a tough year for law enforcement, but I do want to take a minute to thank council, the village administration, and our entire community for overwhelming outpouring of support. Over the past several months, we've received so many well wishes and expressions of support. It's going to take me months just to keep up with the thank you cards I have to send. So we're very grateful for all the support we've got from the community. One of the things I've been enjoying since I took over as chief is getting letters from people outside the community that we serve. Sometimes people take a minute to call to, say nice job or show their appreciation. I got a letter a few months ago, and I think it's a great story for the holiday season. And it's a great example of, the kind of officers we have on this department. So I'm going to read kind of just an excerpt. It'll only take a minute here from a young lady. And she wrote, my husband and I are from out of state. And last night we got lost trying to get to a hotel. One of your officers stopped us, and not only did he let us follow him to a hotel, but he had someone call the hotel first and was kind enough to help us get a good deal on a room for the night. It was without a doubt the kindest encounter we have ever had with law enforcement. We are traveling with our 4-month-old on an 18-hour drive to see family. When the officer stopped us, our little one was tired of being in the truck, and we were extremely tired ourselves. He could have checked out our names and then sent us on our way to keep looking for a hotel, but he didn't. He talked to us like normal people instead of doing what most officers have done to us in the past and immediately treat us like we were criminals. He was very nice, and he took the time to help us. She writes, writing this is something I've never done before and honestly never thought I would actually do. But where some people might consider what the officer did for us nice, but not a big deal, it was for me and my husband. She wrote, thank you again. It's nice to know there are still good police officers out there. So I thought that was a nice story to share for the holiday season here. So with that, I also want to wish everyone Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Steve, if I may pipe in, Chief Matthias, I just want to say that I'm so proud of you and the work that our police department has done. I couldn't be more pleased. I want to congratulate you on the recent certification with the Ohio Collaborative. Also say that I read the memo you included in council packets. And I want to say that I agree with everything you put in it. Under your leadership, Mayfield Village Police Department is doing, better than I could ever even have hoped. You have my support, you have my admiration, you have my respect, and you have my gratitude. So I want to thank you for all the work you do. And I also want to thank the members of council who have supported the police department. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Chief. And I echo Mayor Viner's comments as well. Thank you for everything you've done in your department.
Great, thank you.
Next up, we have the fire department. Mrs. Betza will be speaking on behalf of Chief Carciopolo.
Yes, Chief Carciopolo wanted to give a COVID-19 update. Chief states, with the COVID-19 vaccination being approved, the question everyone has is when will it be available? The Cuyahoga County Board of Health is working diligently with the local hospital systems and healthcare professionals in implementing the different phases of distribution. The first wave of vaccinations will be provided to healthcare workers and nursing home tenants as they are identified as the highest risk population. The plan is dynamic and may change based on the many different factors that are in motion, but currently we expect availability for our frontline EMS workers on December 28th, 29th, and 30th. The distribution of the vaccine will be conducted at the behest of the County Board of Health, and as more vaccine is available, it will begin to be offered to more of the population. I don't have a definitive timeline as to when the vaccine will become available to the general public or where and how it will be distributed. But I can assure you that we have a plan in place and our MyPod volunteers will be ready to assist if the Board of Health chooses to utilize our location. I am monitoring the situation every day and will provide as much notice as I can so that we can educate the public as to the vaccine's availability. Thank you, Chief Carciopolo.
Thank you, Mrs. Betza. Next up is Parks and Recreation. Mrs. Betz is up again.
Reporting on behalf of Shane McAvenue, he provided an update on the holiday decorating contest. For the first time this year, we had a holiday decorating contest for all Mayfield Village residents, businesses, and neighborhoods, and had over 60 sign-ups. The event brought a festive environment to the village that was enjoyed by residents and visitors alike. A special thanks go out to all the contest judges, Council President Chuck, Lyndhurst Municipal Judge Dominic Coletta, and Heights Hillcrest Regional Chamber of Commerce President Joe Corradetti. Contest winners will be announced tomorrow on the Parks and Rec Facebook page. In addition, all department heads send their best wishes to council and village residents for a very Merry Christmas and a safe, healthy, and happy 2021.
Thank you, Mrs. Betza. Moving along to old business. We have the third reading of ordinance number 2020-23 entitled
An ordinance enacting Mayfield Village Codified Ordinance Section 903.05, sidewalk repair reimbursement.
Motion to pass.
Second,
discussion. Mrs. Betza, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Marquardt,
yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Scheib.
Yes. Ordinance number 2020-23 passes 7-0. Next is the third reading of ordinance number 2020-24 entitled
An ordinance enacting Mayfield Village Codified Ordinance, Section 1157.10, patios permit fee.
Motion to pass.
Second,
discussion. Mrs. Betza, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Marquardt,
yes,
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
yes,
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Yes. Ordinance number 2020-24 passes 7-0. Third reading of ordinance number 2020-26 entitled,
An ordinance appropriating funds for current expenses and expenditures of Mayfield Village, Ohio for the period from January 1st, 2020 and ending December 31st, 2020, and declaring an emergency.
motion to pass,
second,
discussion?
I just wanted to mention, I provided council with a detailed copy of the budget that had line items highlighted that had changes since the budget that was passed in March, and an explanation of those changes. I don't know if any council members had any questions on any of those changes before this is finalized.
I do not.
Thank you, Mr. Lynn. Mrs. Betza, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Marquardt,
yes,
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
yes,
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Yes. Ordinance number 2020-26 passes 7-0. Third reading of ordinance number 2020-27 entitled,
An ordinance appropriating funds for current expenses and expenditures of Mayfield Village, Ohio for the period from January 1st, 2021 and ending March 31st, 2021, and declaring an emergency.
motion to pass,
second,
discussion? Betza, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Marquardt,
yes,
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mills,
yes,
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Yes. Ordinance number 2020-27 passes 7-0. Resolution number 2020-50 entitled,
A resolution requesting the Cuyahoga County Fiscal Officer to adjust the amended official certificate of estimated resources for 2020.
motion to pass,
second,
discussion? Mrs. Betza, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Marquardt,
yes,
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
yes,
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Yes. Resolution number 2020-50 passes 7-0. Moving on to new business. We have a motion to approve the recommendation of the Mayfield Community Improvement Corporation to authorize payment to 20 additional Mayfield Village business applicants for the Small Business Relief Fund grants in the amount of $2,500 per applicant for a total of $50,000.
motion to pass,
second,
Discussion? The only comment I have is I just want to thank Mr. Marquardt for his work on this again. We appreciate all that you've been doing for the small businesses in Mayfield Village.
Thank you, President Shutt. Thank you all for your support as well.
You're welcome. Mrs. Betza, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Marquardt,
yes,
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
yes,
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Yes. Motion carries. Motion to acknowledge receipt of financial reports for November 2020 and to approve the same as submitted.
motion to pass,
second,
Discussion? Mrs. Betza, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Marquardt,
yes,
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
yes,
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Yes. Motion carries. Motion to authorize expenditure in the amount of $117,898 for Bureau of Workers' Compensation for the 2021 yearly assessment.
motion to pass,
second,
Discussion? Mrs. Betza, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Marquardt,
yes,
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
yes,
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Yes. Motion carries. Motion to authorize transfer in the amount of $1 million from the general fund to the street construction, maintenance, and repair fund to cover the 2020 road projects.
Motion to pass.
second,
Discussion. Mrs. Benson, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Marquardt,
yes,
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Shutt.
Yes. Motion carries. Motion to authorize transfer in the amount of $50,000 from the general fund to the community room fund to cover operating expenses.
Motion to pass.
second,
Discussion. Mrs. Benson, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Marquardt,
yes,
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Shutt.
Yes. Motion carries. Motion to authorize transfer in the amount of $500,000 from the general fund to the capital improvement fund to cover the Wilson Mills sidewalk, entryway signage, and facility improvements.
Motion to pass.
second,
Discussion. Mrs. Benson, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Marquardt,
yes,
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Shutt.
Yes. Motion carries. Motion to authorize transfer in the amount of $55,000 from the police pension fund to the general fund to offset pension costs.
Motion to pass.
second,
Discussion. Mrs. Benson, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Marquardt,
yes,
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Shutt.
Yes. Motion carries. Motion to authorize transfer the amount of $71,000 from the police operating fund to the general fund to offset operating expenses.
Motion to pass.
second,
Discussion. Mrs. Benson, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Marquardt,
yes,
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yeah.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Shutt.
Yes. Motion carries. Motion to authorize transfer in the amount of $400,000 from the sanitary sewer relief fund to the sanitary sewer conversion fund to cover Hunt Circle Entry Drive sanitary sewer relief project.
Motion to pass.
second,
Discussion. Mrs. Benson, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Marquardt,
yes,
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Shutt.
Yes. Motion carries. And I just want to make one note that there was no change from the original budget for the above 6 motions for the funds transfers that we just read. Next, we have motion to authorize transfer in the amount of $838,164.78 from the North Commons TIP fund to the general bond retirement fund to offset debt payments. The original budget was $800,000.
Motion to pass.
second,
Discussion. Mrs. Benson, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Marquardt,
yes,
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Shutt.
Yes. Motion carries. Motion to authorize transfer in the amount of $101,363.48 from the Governor's Village TIP Fund to the General Bond Retirement Fund to offset debt payments. Original budget was $62,000.
Motion to pass.
second,
Discussion. Mrs. Benson, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Marquardt,
yes,
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Shutt.
Yes. Motion carries. Motion to authorize transfer in the amount of $5,895.74 from the Heinens Tip Fund to the General Bond Retirement Fund to offset debt payments. Original budget was $10,000.
Motion pass.
second,
Discussion. Mrs. Betson, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
yes,
Mr. Marquardt,
yes,
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Shop.
Yes. Here. Motion to authorize transfer in the amount of $17,208.88 from the Skoda Minati TIF Fund to the General Bond Retirement Fund to offset debt payments. Original budget was $10,000.
Motion pass.
second,
Discussion. Mrs. Betson, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
yes,
Mr. Marquardt,
yes,
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Shop.
Yes. Motion carries. Motion to authorize transfer in the amount of $92,089.81 from the Omni Hotel Tip Fund to the General Bond Retirement Fund to offset debt payments. Original budget was $45,000.
Motion pass.
second,
Discussion. Betson, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
yes,
Mr. Marquardt,
yes,
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Shop.
Yes. Motion carries. Motion to authorize expenditure in the amount of $10,240 to Mayfield City Schools for the 2019-2020 rental payment for the use of Wildcat Sports and Fitness.
Motion pass.
second,
Discussion. Mrs. Betson, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
yes,
Mr. Marquardt,
yes,
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Shop.
Yes. Motion carries. Motion to authorize expenditure in the amount of $11,220 to Ohio Geese Control for geese control at Parkview Recreation Area for 2021.
Motion pass.
second,
Discussion. Mrs. Betson, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
yes,
Mr. Marquardt,
yes,
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Shop.
Yes, motion carries. Next, we have the first reading of ordinance number 2020-33 entitled,
An ordinance amending Mayfield Village Codified Ordinance, Chapter 1519, fireworks.
ordinance number 2020-33 will move to second read. First reading of ordinance number 2020-34 entitled,
An ordinance amending Mayfield Village Codified Ordinance, Chapter 1383, automatic fire suppression equipment.
ordinance number 2020-34 will move to second read. First reading of ordinance number 2020-35 entitled,
An ordinance amending Mayfield Village Codified Ordinance, Chapter 1329, Ohio Building Code.
ordinance number 2020-35 will also move to second read. First reading of ordinance number 2020-36 entitled,
An ordinance amending Mayfield Village Codified Ordinance, Chapter 141, Fire Department.
ordinance number 2020-36 will move to second read. First reading of ordinance number 2020-37 entitled,
An ordinance amending Mayfield Village Codified Ordinance, Chapter 749, Recovery Costs for Emergency Actions.
ordinance number 2020-37 will move to second read. First reading of ordinance number 2020-38 entitled,
An ordinance amending Mayfield Village Codified Ordinance, Chapter 971, pertaining to alarms.
ordinance number 2020-38, I'm sorry about that. Ordinance number 2020-38 will also move to second read. First reading of ordinance number 2020-39 entitled,
An ordinance amending Mayfield Village Codified Ordinance, Chapter 1501, Ohio Fire Code.
Ordinance number 2020-39 will also move to second read. We have the first reading of ordinance number 2020-40 entitled,
An ordinance amending Mayfield Village Codified Ordinance, Chapter 1522, Building Marking Systems.
ordinance number 2020-40 will move to second read. Next is the first reading of ordinance number 2020-41 entitled,
An emergency ordinance amending Chapter 153 of the Codified Ordinances of Mayfield Village, Ohio, pertaining to wages, benefits, and other terms and conditions of employment, and repealing such other ordinances as are inconsistent herewith.
Motion to suspend, please.
Second.
discussion. May I have a motion to pass?
Motion passed, please.
Second.
Mrs. Benson, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
yes,
Mr. Marquardt,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Scheck.
Yes. Ordinance number 2020-41 passes. Resolution number 2020-54 entitled,
A resolution requesting the Cuyahoga County Treasurer to advance from the proceeds of tax levies for the collection year 2021.
Motion to pass, please.
Second.
discussion. Mrs. Benson, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
yes,
Mr. Marquardt,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Scheck.
Yes. Resolution passes. Resolution number 2020-55 entitled,
An emergency resolution authorizing Mayfield Village to expend an estimated $40,000 to the city of Lyndhurst for the Lyndhurst Municipal Court projected operating deficit from July 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2020.
Motion to pass.
Second.
discussion.
Yeah, I just want to mention I have not received any updated financial information since caucus. And at that time, the results we had was to the end of October. And our share of the deficit was about $26,000. So I'm still comfortable allocating $40,000 to cover those last couple months of the year.
Thank you, Mr. Nguyen. Mrs. Benson, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
yes,
Mr. Marquardt,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Scheck.
Yes. Resolution passes. Resolution number 2020-56 entitled,
An emergency resolution providing for the reappointment of Thomas Capello and Stephen Hovansik and Associates, Inc. as engineer for Mayfield Village, Ohio.
Motion to pass.
Second.
discussion. Mrs. Benson, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
yes,
Mr. Marquardt,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Scheck.
Yes. Resolution passes. Resolution number 2020-57 entitled,
An emergency resolution reestablishing the terms, conditions, and compensation for the services of the prosecutor for Mayfield Village, Ohio.
Motion to pass.
Second.
discussion. Mrs. Benson, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
yes,
Mr. Marquardt,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Scheck.
Yes. Resolution passes. Resolution number 2020-58 entitled,
An emergency resolution amending the investment policy of Mayfield Village.
Motion to pass.
Second.
discussion. Mrs. Benson, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
yes,
Mr. Marquardt,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Scheck.
Yes. Resolution passes. Resolution number 2020-59 entitled,
An emergency resolution authorizing Mayfield Village to expend an amount not to exceed $30,000 under the Council of Government Agreement for the Community Partnership on Aging.
Motion pass.
second,
discussion. Mrs. Benson, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
yes,
Mr. Marquardt,
yes,
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Shep.
Yes. Resolution passes. Resolution number 2020-60 entitled,
An emergency resolution authorizing Mayfield Village to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Cuyahoga Soil and Water Conservation District and Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District for providing technical assistance in implementing soil and water conservation measures from January 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2025, and authorizing Mayfield Village to expend funds in an amount not to exceed $6,000 annually to the Cuyahoga Soil and Water Conservation District.
Motion pass.
second,
discussion. Mrs. Benson, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
yes,
Mr. Marquardt,
yes,
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Shep.
Yes. Resolution passes. Resolution number 2020-61 entitled,
An emergency resolution authorizing Mayfield Village to enter into a contract with Citywide Maintenance of Cleveland for janitorial services for the Mayfield Village Police Department in the amount of $995 per month, $11,940 annually.
Motion pass.
second,
discussion. Mrs. Benson, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
yes,
Mr. Marquardt,
yes,
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Shep.
Yes. Resolution passes. Next, I'd like to entertain a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22 G2, to consider the potential sale or purchase of real estate.
I make a motion to go into executive session, please.
second,
Mrs. Benson, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jurassic,
yes,
Mr. Marquardt,
yes,
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Mills,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Shep.
Yes. Council is adjourning for executive session at 7:50 PM. The live feed will be disabled until council reconvenes. When council is ready to return, a new link will be posted to the village website for the public to view the remainder of the meeting. A motion to reconvene from executive session will be made, and we will be voting on one additional item and then adjourn. Council would like to invite Mayor Bodnar, Ms. Woolmuth, Ms. Weber, Mr. Nguyen, and Mrs. Betza in executive session. I'm sorry, and Mr.
And-
Markle.
Good, thanks.